Kind of a video response to Nick, the Modern Mystic, and partly to Matt, if I can get to it. So Nick has thrown in my humble opinion, all opinions should be humble opinions, and argument, and I think that's just bullshit. If I say something like McCain is a fucking asshole, and that's all I'm willing to say, well, yeah, then it has to be a humble opinion, okay? Because I'm not willing to defend it. But as soon as you're in argument defending a statement, it doesn't have to be a humble opinion anymore. I don't, and some stipulations or premises of conversation between people about reality, I mean, really just don't deserve humility anymore. I don't have to say the world is round with humility anymore. Fuck that. Anybody who thinks the world is flat, they ought to be flat. Okay? They just ought to forget it. You don't have a brain, all right? You don't have a brain that's worth conversing with if you think the world is fucking flat, all right? You're stone cold, broken-brained fucktard. There's no conversation. I don't have to be humble with you. I just call you a fucking idiot and say conversation over. You're not. You don't. You know. There's no point in having an argument with such an idiot. I mean, not that there's no point in trying to convince them otherwise, but the point is if they're not going to be humble, then fuck them. They're the ones that should have the humility if they're going to say something that isn't consistent with any known fucking fact. But if you're willing to defend a statement and go through that pyramid you pointed out, well, look, your premise there is that life is the truth is horrifically complex, and the whole point of these videos is my argument that I'm making is that life isn't fucking goddamn complex, that the truth isn't based on 9 million facts. No, it's based on like 6 or 7 fundamental premises that have to be defended, and once you've defended those, game over. The conclusion is written, okay? So fuck this humility crap. I'm not saying it. There isn't. We shouldn't be oppressive in how we argue with each other, but we don't have to be humble about stating some things as a truth, as long as we're willing to defend the statement, as long as we have the argument to defend it. And that's what I'll point out about Matt's last video. Because he's making statements that he can't defend. And that's where it has to be some sort of qualified opinion bullshit. I mean, if I'm going to say, blue is the greatest color, I'm going to have a damn hard time demonstrating that with any kind of logic. And so, yeah, I probably have to say, in my humble opinion, okay, because that's just not something I can defend. It's not something I can provide any kind of foundation for in logic. But the stuff we're arguing here is something we're arguing what the statements are built out of, and we're arguing that at least I'm arguing that there are these perceptions that are innately prejudiced by our preferences and desires and our situation as a psychological animal in the game. I'm just arguing that if you're going to be a heroin addict, you're going to have to sort of admit that, okay, when we're having a discussion about what heroin is. And you can't say things like heroin is yummy yummy. Okay, it's not an argument. If we're talking about what exactly heroin is, your opinion that it's yummy yummy is fucking bullshit. Okay, it's not relevant to the discussion. It's not a meaningful bit of factual foundation for the argument that heroin is something. So anyway, and that's objectivity is just. It's just suppressing. We keep. Oh, I hate that we have to keep twisting these words. I mean, it doesn't have to be something absolute. It just has to be the idea that you're separating it from the pollution of subjectivity. All right? I mean, can't we just see objectivity as what you have when you take away subjectivity? I mean, ideally, it should be pretty consistent. I mean, if you've taken away subjectivity, you should have something pretty consistent with the perfect perspective or the absolute perspective. I mean, I really shouldn't have to have 3 or 4 variations of this term of how what degree of objectivity we've achieved. Is it a 5th degree or a 7th degree objectivity? I mean, whatever. So if I can demonstrate logically that some premise that has invaded people's logic is polluted by some yummy mush, then yeah, it's okay. Then they're going to have to defend keeping yummy in the argument. I ain't even saying that. Anyway, let's move on. So look, the premise is, okay, the world is round. Okay, we evolved. Our whole psychology is part of that evolution process. I've used these words before. The fact that we are conditioned animals is nothing to be humble about anymore. It's not a humble truth. It's a fucking fact. Okay, we are conditioned psychologies. And depending on the arbitrary circumstances of where we grow up and how we grow up and what culture we grow up, our whole fucking brain can be distorted and perverted by that experience. And the truth really isn't subject to what culture you grow up in. That's not how it fucking works. And so you have to sit there and try to eradicate that conditioning from your philosophy, from what you allow to seep into your intellect. You have to put a filter in your goddamn brain that says, oh, wait a minute, is that just something, built out of my circumstance? Oh, I like blonde hair. Well, does that have something to do with the fact that I have blonde hair? You've got to be able to weed out the weeds. That's simple. And the weeds are the crap imposed on us by a DNA molecule in our nature, and the crap imposed on us by fucktarded cultures that throw ideas and memes in our brains, okay, that don't have any credibility, like notions of gods and such. Okay, that's just crap. And we've got to weed the crap out and start with a clean slate, so to speak. And I'm saying, when you have a clean slate, this pyramid isn't very complicated. You put together 5 or 10 or 15 nice solid truths about our existence, and once you have those, you don't have to be fucking humble about opinions anymore, but you can connect the motherfucking dots to prove and demonstrate the goddamn truth. So whatever. I know you don't like argument, you like conversation. I'm a little too distracted by the fact that change must happen, that the fucking world is completely screwed up. I don't have the luxury of waiting for people to slowly and gradually get on the train of rationality. They've got to get shoved on the motherfucker. So I guess I don't see the point in these the nuances of the Marquis of Queensberry rules kind of crap of argument. It's time to get right to it, right? The battle's got to be won, and it's time to pull out every fucking weapon you've got in terms of argument. So that's how I'm looking at it. And I'm sorry you don't like that style, but whatever, fuck you. It's the style I'm going to use. Maybe that's just personal impatience. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it is some immaturity on my part. Henny penny panic on my part. But whatever it is, it's the way it's going to be. Let's get to the fucking core of the argument and quit, playing around sipping tea like this is some sort of meaningless entertainment philosophy discussion, because it's really not. It's fucking critical to the human fucking race that it fucking get a rational idea in its head before it keeps marching into the quicksand. I mean, it's really got to have a brain to navigate the future. It's not going to be able to do it by just blindly walking around sipping tea talking about humble opinions. It's not going to fucking cut it. Alright, so on to Matt. This is a good example of exactly what I'm talking about.